Imagine getting a regular paycheck every single month, no matter what. It's not from a job and you don't have to do anything to earn it. It just shows up in your bank account, guaranteed. This is the simple idea behind Universal Basic Income, or UBI. It's a concept that's getting a lot of attention all over the world, from small villages in Kenya to big cities in the United States. The idea is to give every single person, rich or poor, a set amount of money on a regular basis. It's meant to be a safety net, a floor that no one can fall below, giving everyone a bit more security in an uncertain world. So, how does it actually work? Well, the core of UBI is its simplicity and its universality. The universal part means that everyone in a community, a city, or even a whole country gets the payment. You could be a millionaire or someone with no income at all. You still get the same amount. The basic part means the money is intended to cover essential needs like food, housing, and bills, and the income is just that, a steady stream of cash. This is what makes it so different from traditional welfare, which often involves complicated forms, interviews, and rules about who qualifies and who doesn't. UBI just gets rid of all that red tape. The main thinking behind this is that our current systems aren't working as well as they should. People fall through the cracks. They might lose a job suddenly, get sick, or have to care for a family member, and suddenly find themselves in a really tough spot. UBI supporters believe that by giving everyone a stable financial foundation, we can help people manage these unexpected life events without falling into deep poverty. It's not about making everyone rich, it's about making sure everyone has enough to get by, to have a little bit of breathing room to make better decisions for themselves and their families. This isn't just some far-off dream either. It's been tried out in real places with real people. These experiments, often called pilot programs, have happened all over the globe in countries like Finland, Canada, and India. Each trial is a bit different, but the goal is always the same: to see what happens when you give people money with no strings attached. Do they stop working? Do they spend it wisely? Does it actually improve their lives? These are the big questions that researchers are trying to answer, and the results are giving us a fascinating glimpse into what a future with UBI could look like for all of us. One of the biggest hopes for UBI is that it could drastically reduce poverty. Think about it. If everyone has enough money to cover their basic needs, the number of people struggling to afford food or a safe place to live could fall dramatically. In a trial in Namibia, for instance, researchers found that poverty rates fell significantly. Child malnutrition dropped because families could afford to buy more nutritious food. It's a straightforward solution to a very complex problem. Supporters see it as a way to give people dignity, allowing them to make their own choices about how to meet their needs, rather than relying on food banks or government handouts with strict conditions. Beyond just fighting poverty, advocates believe UBI could lead to a healthier society, both physically and mentally. The constant stress of not knowing if you can pay your rent or afford a doctor's visit takes a huge toll on people. In one famous experiment in Canada during the 1970s called Mincome, they found that hospital visits actually decreased. People were less stressed and had fewer accidents. Giving people financial security seems to give them the headspace to look after themselves better. It means they can afford to see a doctor when they need to, or even just take a day off when they're sick instead of forcing themselves to work. There's also a powerful argument that UBI could make our society more equal, especially for women. A lot of the crucial work done in our communities, like raising children or caring for elderly relatives, is unpaid. This work is overwhelmingly done by women who often have to sacrifice their own careers and financial independence. By providing an independent income for everyone, UBI formally recognizes this unpaid care work. It gives women more power within their households and more freedom to leave abusive or unhealthy situations. As they aren't completely financially dependent on a partner, it helps level the playing field in a really fundamental way. Finally, supporters dream of a world where UBI frees people up to be more creative and entrepreneurial. If your basic survival is guaranteed, maybe you wouldn't stay in a job you hate just to pay the bills. You might decide to go back to school, start your own small business, or spend more time on art or volunteering in your community. In a trial in Uganda, people who received basic income payments invested more in their businesses and their earnings went up. The idea is that UBI isn't a handout. It's an investment in people's potential, unleashing a wave of innovation and well-being that benefits all of society. Of course, for every big hope, there's a big question, and the first one everyone asks about UBI is, how on earth would we pay for it? Giving every single adult a monthly check sounds incredibly expensive, and it is. Estimates for a country like the United States run into the trillions of dollars every year. To fund a program that large, governments would likely need to raise taxes significantly or make massive cuts to other public services like healthcare, education, or existing welfare programs. Some critics worry that if we replace targeted support for the most vulnerable with a universal payment, the poorest people could actually end up worse off. Another major concern is the effect UBI might have on work. It's a question that comes up time and time again. If you give people free money, will they still want to get a job? Some people fear it would create a society where nobody wants to do the difficult but necessary jobs, leading to labor shortages and a less productive economy. While most pilot programs have shown that the vast majority of people continue to work, some studies from the 1970s in the US did show that recipients worked slightly fewer hours. The worry is that a permanent nationwide UBI might have a much larger impact on people's motivation to work than a temporary experiment. Then there's the problem of inflation. If you suddenly give everyone more money to spend, but the amount of stuff to buy stays the same, what happens? Prices go up. This is basic economics. Critics of UBI warn that pumping all that extra cash into the economy could cause a spiral of inflation where the cost of living rises so fast that the basic income check becomes worthless. Your $1,000 a month might sound great, but it won't help much if your rent and grocery bills also go up by a similar amount. Managing this risk would be a huge challenge for any government trying to implement UBI on a large scale. Finally, some people argue that UBI is a simplistic solution that doesn't fix the real root causes of poverty. It doesn't build new skills, a lack of education, or tackle issues like addiction or mental health challenges. While money can certainly help, it might not be enough to help someone find a stable, fulfilling job or overcome personal barriers. Critics suggest that we should instead focus on investing more in targeted programs that provide job training, better education, and mental health support. They believe that simply giving cash without addressing these deeper issues is like putting a plaster on a wound that needs stitches. As of today, July 5th, 2025, no country in the world has rolled out a full, nationwide, universal basic income for all its citizens. It's still very much in the experimental stage. What we have instead is a patchwork of pilot programs and related ideas happening all over the planet. These trials are like laboratories for the UBI concept, helping us learn what works, what doesn't, and what challenges we might face. From cities in the Netherlands to counties in California, local governments and non-profit organizations are the ones leading the charge, testing different payment amounts and studying the effects on small groups of people. One of the longest-running examples that people often point to is the Alaska Permanent Fund. Since 1976, the state of Alaska has been sharing its oil revenue with every resident, giving them an annual dividend. In 2023, for example, every man, woman and child got $1,312. While it's not a monthly payment and isn't enough to live on, it's the closest thing to a statewide UBI that exists. The results have been largely positive, showing benefits for health and poverty reduction without a major negative impact on employment. It shows that sharing a state's wealth with its people is possible, at least on a smaller scale. The conversation has also become much more urgent with the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI. Tech leaders like Elon Musk and OpenAI's Sam Altman have suggested that UBI might become necessary as AI, and robots start doing more and more jobs currently done by humans. Their argument is that if robots create immense wealth, we should share some of that wealth with everyone to prevent mass unemployment and social unrest. However, critics are wary of this, arguing it lets tech companies off the hook for the disruption they cause, and that we should be talking more about things like better worker protections and taxing AI wealth. So the debate is far from over. UBI is a bold idea that forces us to ask big questions about the kind of society we want to live in. Is work just about earning money, or is it about purpose? What do we owe each other as members of a community? Is a guaranteed income a revolutionary tool for freedom and equality, or is it an unaffordable dream with too many risks? As our world changes rapidly with new technologies and economic challenges, you can be sure that the conversation around universal basic income is one that we'll be having for many years to come.